So you're trying to improve your art, but don't know what is the best and the fastest way of doing it. And I'm sure you heard this, and we've all heard it, that the advice of just practice, study the fundamentals. Although these things are true and it is important to learn and practice the fundamentals, one of the best way of actually learning and improving is by studying from other artists, stealing from them. But how do we actually study and steal from these other artists? So the idea is not to straight up copy someone else's art and call it your own, but the idea is to study other artists and steal from their techniques and learn from their techniques. This painting that we'll be focusing on today is the result of a lot of the things that I've learned studying a lot of these artists. So these artists have spent years perfecting their style, and along the way they have found ways to simplify some shapes and have found some tricks and techniques that really gets them to make these great pieces. And I'm sure those great artists have also studied from the artists before them. And as we study other artists, we're really accumulating knowledge that have been gained over years or even decades. And now we can really get an insight of how to do these things their way. And we don't have to go through the whole process of relearning everything and spending lots of time to learn the same things that they learned. So now when it comes to studying other artists, it is important to focus on what you want to study. So when you pick an artist or a painting to study, maybe choose two things that you want to focus on. For example, when I was studying Sam Does Art, I was focused on the way he simplifies the shapes in the sketch, and also focus on the stylization of the face, like the big eyes and the small nose and things like that. But when I was studying Niksu, for example, my focus was on the colors and how I can use cool colors effectively. I really struggled with the idea of using, for example, blue as a skin color, but in his context and in his scene, he really is able to make it work. So studying that specifically, I was able to learn a lot from that study. And when I was studying Willop, I was focusing on studying the brushstrokes and the rendering and focus more on those rather than the sketch phase. Now, it's not just enough to just look at these paintings and analyze these, but it's important to try and replicate one of the paintings. And even more importantly, it is important to try and do painting of your own using the things that you were focused on studying. So for example, if I was focused on the stylization of Sam Does Art, I should do a painting of my own where I try and implement those techniques and that style of stylization into a painting of my own. So the amazing thing is that some of these great artists are also posting their process videos online on YouTube, and you can really go and watch these things and get a better understanding of how their process works and even learn at a much faster pace than just analyzing their painting. So analyzing the painting is good, and sometimes that is the only way we can do it. But if you have the choice or the option of watching the behind the scenes of them drawing, or the process videos, or the actual videos of them explaining their process, then you'll be able to even learn at a much faster pace. Now, if you do this with many different artists and keep doing it, you'll be able to pick up some really nice and unique techniques and tricks from each artist, and even some styles from each artist that you can implement into your own painting, and together it really develops your own painting style and your own technique. So for me, I have been studying a few different artists like Sam Does Art, Willop, Guiz, Niksu, and Ross Draws. And as I have been studying them, I have automatically picked up some of these techniques that I'm talking about and improved my art quite a bit. So this painting here was made from a photo reference where I was trying to implement everything that I've learned from all these artists without actually copying a specific artist, or without actually trying to use a specific artist style. And as you might be able to see, some of the influence from these artists that I have already mentioned in my painting, and that's completely fine. But because I'm studying a variety of different artists, and I'll continue to expand my studies to many more artists, my style and my techniques will be very unique to me because they're not a copy of one specific artist. Now, I'm not trying to say that the fundamentals are not important and that you should just study other artists. But what I think is that if you study the fundamentals from real life or photo references, and then study other artists and see how they use the fundamentals and how they simplify the shapes and how they do things, you will learn a lot more and a lot faster. So these were some of the reasons where I think studying other artists is very important. Of course, there's a lot more. And if you want to learn more about why, for example, League of Legends art is so great and how I study it and how I analyze it and learn more about splash art, you might want to watch this video here.